want to start with an article I saw from the Remax blog, 6 decisions to make before your home search. And this is something that I think you guys can probably both attest to this. So many home buyers kind of jump out and start looking at homes and put the cart before the horse before making decisions or doing research. And I've seen so many people buy the wrong house in the wrong neighborhood, or overspend or underspend because they didn't, take a step back and really kind of assess their needs. And so, the very first one I think is, what your budget is.
Right, that's a big one.
It's a huge one, and not just what your budget is, but also what you can qualify for,
right.
But also what you're comfortable with, because you certainly have people that'll go and qualify for a certain amount, and they shouldn't have spent that amount because they like to do leisurely type things, or how much money do you have for a down payment? You really got to look at the financial numbers, and you got to talk to a mortgage lender.
Yeah, it happens all the time too. Someone may even qualify in the price range that they want to buy in, but they don't realize what the payment's going to be. We talk about it a lot too. There's so many additional factors, and plus your purchase price. What are the real estate taxes? How much is the homeowner's insurance? Does it need flood insurance? All those things are going to affect what you can afford, or even if you can't afford it, do you even want to pay that much?
Right. And so the other considerations for the budget that I think are really important are factoring in the additional costs that you're going to incur once you buy new furniture, any changes you want to make to the house. I think another big one that people don't realize is utility costs. If you're moving into a bigger house versus a smaller house, your utility costs could go up. Maybe they go down.
Right.
I think Scott would tell you if you buy a new construction home with DR Horton, they're going to go down because it's more energy efficient. But people so often I think don't do that, and then they say, "Oh, whoops, I didn't realize that. I can't afford this now."
Yeah. It's so interesting you bring that up. We sold a home this past weekend where the buyer was looking between us, and it was a resale.
Yeah.
And resale is about 12, 15 years old. And if you're looking at a home that's 12, 15 years old, it doesn't have a radiant barrier. And just that's standard for new construction these days. And just that alone is going to make your home at least 25% more efficient. So you're going to spend this money. Do you want to put it toward yourself and invest in your home, or do you want to give it to Tico? And we love Tico; they do a great service. But you're going to spend that money.
I can say that. Scott loves Tico. Mike loves Tico. Maybe I don't.
Oh, I don't care.
All right. I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Tico. It's a joke.
But those are real dollars, and you got to look at the entire picture.
Well, and I think when you go back to budget, you also have to look at not just your budget for the house, but your budget for your life.
Right.
I mean, you look at something like that, that's money that's going to really nothing.
That's right.
And it's not building any equity for you. You're not getting to go out and enjoy it. You're not getting to go out and have a drink at the bar, or go on vacation or whatever. That's just money going nowhere. And I mean, it could be thousands of dollars a year in utility costs. I think another thing I see people make the mistake of buying a pool home and not understanding their budget, and then not realizing the costs that need to be incurred for managing the pool and treating it and cleaning it, and then they never use it. So if you're someone out there,
that one right now, and I underestimated.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean it can be expensive. If you're going to use it a lot, it's great. If you're not, then put a really nice freaking picture of a pool on your porch. Put a really cool picture. Go out to the beach once a month or something. But if you're not going to use it a lot, that's a budgetary thing that you got to think about. And then you'll have people that will say, "Oh, well, the house is worth more with a pool in it." Not really.
No, it's not.
I mean, it adds a little bit of value, but I mean, you can see some pools cost $30,000, $50,000, $100,000. Depending on how luxurious you go, and they don't add anywhere near the cost of them.
Now, I was actually talking with an appraiser recently about a home that had a pool and a hot tub, kind of a built-in hot tub, and she told me, she's like, believe it or not, you get more value out of that spa hot tub than you do the pool itself.
Well, we use the spa hot tub way more than the pool.
Right.
I mean, we just do. So the next is, what do you need in your new home? And this goes back to the criteria. Like how many bedrooms, how many baths, what kind of garage do you need? Do you need to be on a cul-de-sac? Do you need a big backyard? Really going through and so let's say you're doing it with a spouse or a significant other. Really going through and nailing out what your needs are and then what your wants are.
Yes.
And prioritizing those, because you're not going to get everything you want. Unless you have, Bill Gates money
Right.
You're not going to get everything you want. There's going to be a sacrifice here and there, something maybe you can't get.
And
Right.
Andrew, I'm sure you've seen this. Even when somebody finds that quote-unquote perfect home, there's no such thing as the perfect home.
No,
right?
there's not.
There's going to be something, and it's that process of likes versus wants. And
Yep.
unless you have an unlimited budget, and which most of us don't.
If you do, please call us.
Right.
We would love to help you buy, the most expensive home in Tampa Bay. But
Exactly, but if you don't, you're like the rest of us. It's those likes, wants versus needs, and really making that assessment. And I see so many buyers kind of getting caught up with in that. Well, it just doesn't have this one thing, and on the priority list, it's number 5 or 6,
Yeah.
but it has 1 through 4. So just really take a holistic approach.
Oh yeah, I agree. So and so once you've got that kind of channeled in, then it's a little bit of an ebb and flow between when you look at a house, what it has, what it doesn't have, and kind of compare and contrast. So the next debate is what type of property do you want? Do you want a single family home? Do you want a townhome? Do you want a condo? Do you want a trailer? Do you want to live in a tent in a van down by the river? Really, you just got to decide what it is you want. And so I will tell you, one of the pieces of advice I gave one of our buyer agents this week that had a customer that was struggling with this. I said, go to Airbnb and look for a townhome in that neighborhood for rent, and then stay there for a couple nights. Or see if you can find a way to stay in one of the homes, or I personally in the past underestimated the nuisance of living in a townhome for me. Now some people, they're perfectly fine with it, but ultimately when you're in a townhome, you really do have to depend on the person that's right next door to you,
Right.
and sometimes on both sides of you. Same thing with a condo. You also have to compare the fees between those things, because when you're in one of the multifamily communities or a condo or a townhome, you've got to accommodate generally a higher monthly fee scenario than you are going to in a home. But for some people, the lower maintenance and all those things that benefit in a condo, or the proximity to people, they maybe don't really care if their neighbor stays up until 1 o'clock in the morning doing Kama Sutra in their bedroom. So it's to each his own.
Right.
And so I would encourage you though to test out different products. Go stay in a condo. Go stay in a townhome in a community that you like.
I think one thing that a lot of people don't think about with condos too is, are you in a complex where there might be a lot of rentals in there too, and people coming in and out all the time?
Yeah.
Do you want to know who your neighbors are, or do you care because it's constant rollover?
And Scott, I don't know if you guys get this at DR Horton, but we're starting to get more of it, and it's a little weird. I don't know if there's some real estate guru out there telling people to do this, or if there's some sort of self-help real estate program for home buyers. But we're getting more and more requests for people that want as a contract contingency. They want to stay the night in the house. They want to stay overnight or on a weekend in the home that they've made an offer on, and it's a little weird. But I never had a lot of it, and it seems like in the last few months we've had that request probably more than in my entire real estate career. Do you guys ever get that?
We haven't, and obviously we couldn't do that because we sell new home, new construction.
Right.
So somebody did that. But it's so funny. I had a realtor mention that to me about a week or so ago, and I, quite frankly, almost didn't believe them because it sounded a little crazy.
Yeah.
It's odd.
It's creepy.
It's
Yeah, it
weird.
does, yeah.
It is weird. And I don't know if it's maybe because the Airbnb phenomenon, because so many people now are renting out, letting people stay in their homes over weekends and stuff like that. But me personally, man, I don't want somebody up in my crib. Man, if I'm going to go out of town for the weekend, I don't need to make the extra money to have somebody snoop through my stuff. It's just weird.
No thanks.
So yeah, nonetheless, the next question is, how do you feel about living under an HOA? I think that's an important consideration. An HOA can tell you a lot of things you can or can't do at your house. So can the government, so can the city and the county, depending on where you live, but they're a little looser. HOAs can tell you can't have a basketball hoop in your driveway. You got to paint your house a certain color. You got to mow your yard. You got to do this. You got to do that. So you got to decide if that's something you want to partake in. Now, there's pros and cons. The good is that everything in the neighborhood is going to be much more upkept than in a non-HOA community, but the bad is that you lose a little bit of your own freedoms in terms of things that you might want to do, at your house.
This is one where I have a fairly strong opinion. Again, on the new home side, we do that. If I was in a community, I would never live in a community that doesn't have an HOA. CDD is something separate and different. A lot of people understand that. But when you're in a community and you have that many homes, neighbors that close, that HOA is going to provide some level of protection against really ugly stuff.
Like, so
unsightly stuff showing up in
Scott's
your
being
community.
politically correct.
Right.
What I'm going to say is the hillbillies jacking up their cars in their driveways,
you got
it.
which is basically what I would be doing.
Right, not taking care of their
I would be the
house.
hillbilly jacking up a
Right.
car in the driveway.
Because that'll kill
You know.
the resale and the
Yeah.
value of your home. Again,
It will.
it's a little different
Yeah.
if you're out in some property away from people and you got some acreage. But if you're in a community
Yeah.
with neighbors,
Completely different
you
scenario.
want an HOA.
You want to make sure that that's protecting you.
Yeah.
Yep. So then, what school district you want to be near? I mean, no brainer, right? Everybody knows how important schools are. Here we've got some school choice type things, but most of the top schools are overbooked, so you can't use school choice anyway. But you know, what school district do you want to be near? What proximity? We talked a lot a couple weeks ago about how important location was. I mean, this is one of those scenarios where it comes into play. And you need I think the last consideration is, do you need the home to be move-in ready? Are you willing to buy a fixer-upper and fix it up and do some sweat equity and get it to your liking? Or do you want something that you walk into, unpack, and start living? Me personally, I want to walk in, unpack, and start living, but everybody's a little bit different. And obviously Scott with DR Horton, they're walking in, unpacking, and living.
Yes.
And that's pretty much what it boils down to. So, and it's so funny. One of the next articles I saw was, should you buy a fixer-upper?
Right.
And I would tell you that I have seen so many horror stories from people wanting to buy fixer-uppers.
It's not like it is on TV.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Chip and Joanna know what they're doing,
Right.
but you also don't see the madness that happens in their world. And me personally, what I think is, they had to go through so many fixer-uppers, that's why they're freaking divorcing. Because
Right.
that stuff is not fun. That destroys life. So
I know a lot of really smart people who have grown up in the construction business
Yep.
and lost a lot of money
Yep.
doing the fixer-uppers.
Oh, yeah.
Or spent months and months and months in scratch to break even.
Yep.
I mean, there is definitely a learning curve, and even if you're really good, if you don't buy properly up front,
You have to
That's
make.
what I was gonna
That's
say.
where you're making your money.
Right.
Is on the buy.
I've heard you, Andrew,
Yeah.
say many times, you make your money when you buy the house,
Correct.
not when you fix it up and then
Correct.
sell
You're
it.
making it in the purchase. So, well, anyway, we're going to be back after a quick break. We're going to talk, a lot more about the local real estate market with Scott Eckley from DR Horton and Mike Yates from Atlantic Bay Mortgage.